Welcome. My name is Bridget Greenwood and I'm founder of The Bigger Pie. The Bigger Pie was launched in September 2019 and Geneviève is one of our advisors. The purpose of The Bigger Pie is to celebrate the success and give a platform for the voice and support the incredible women who are already in the space, to make sure that we have visible role models and representation, and to be able to attract more women into the space and retain these women, because you are all incredible. It's really important in this sector that we make sure that we don't repeat the same mistakes and the issues that we've got in other sectors where women are struggling to get senior positions. Most of the companies who are going to use blockchain haven't been formed yet. If we can get them to be formed with women in senior positions, then we'll have a much better chance to be able to maintain the status quo and keep women in the sector. With that in mind, how do we invite women to get into board roles and get into senior positions and get into advisory roles in this new sector? Clearly, it's not from having years of experience in the sector, because the sector is not that old, it's only very nascent. We have Geneviève Leray, who is our moderator. We have Amber Goddard and Toby Lewis, who are from the industry, the crypto and blockchain space. We're very welcome to have Rachel Tranter with us too from Women on Board. Please enjoy the panel. As I say, ask questions in the chat, and then Geneviève will manage that later on, and you'll have a chance to have your questions asked and then answered. Thank you very much, Geneviève.
Good afternoon, everybody. And if anybody's coming from New York, good morning to you, because I think this is a global opportunity for all of us. And I'm very happy to be sitting down and talking with Rachel, Amber, and Toby. What I'd like to do is really invite them to talk a little bit about themselves. For those of you who don't know me, this is the only chance you get to hear about this, hopefully. I am the founder and CEO of AgriLedger, and we are a blockchain company using the technology to work with farmers and also brands, which are looking to understand the transparency to assure equitable distribution. This is very much in the keeping of the Bigger Pie, which is about creating equitable distribution for everyone and making sure that we all are able to sit at the table. With that, I would like to first have Amber introduce herself and tell us a bit about her and the work that she's doing.
Thank you, Geneviève. Always a pleasure to see you. It's been a long time. Amber Goddard, I'm one of the founders of Alliance Block. At Alliance Block, we're building the world's first globally compliant capital market. The idea is to build a new type of investment bank that comes in blocks. As you could guess, I've spent my career in investment banking. It was a logical move for me, especially when I saw the potential that the blockchain and AI can bring to the very centralized financial industry.
Thank you, Amber. It's wonderful to have you. I would like to invite Rachel to tell us a bit about herself, please.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Bridget, for inviting me to join you today. I have to say that your blockchain, I had to do a little bit of research, and it's a fascinating, exciting world that you all live in. What world do I live in? What's my background? I am one of the founders of Women on Boards here in the UK. We set up 9 years ago at the time that Lord Davis and the UK government said, we need to do something about diversity, gender diversity in the boardroom. And the focus really at that point was purely on FTSE 100. And we came along and said, brilliant, we really want to support what you're doing, but what about all the other companies? What about the smaller companies? What about the public sector? What about sports boards, housing associations, charities? We set up to help. I like to think of it as supply and demand. We are there to help those companies on the demand side. We are there to say, you need support to find the talent. On the supply side, no great surprise, there is a fabulous talent pool out there of women of all shapes and sizes, whatever sector, wherever they're beginning in their career. We want to help effectively match that talent with the opportunities. In the middle of all that supply and demand is a lot of support from us, whether it's training, workshops, events, whatever it might be. We are there to help We started off very much bravely on the gender piece. I think if I think about what we do now, we're much more on that broader diversity piece, all about supporting people to get those board roles and also supporting people in their own careers in terms of getting through, I guess, the journey up to the more senior positions in your own company. What do I do within that? That's broadly what Women on Boards is all about. Within Women on Boards, I do two primary functions. I work with the organisation looking to recruit, who are looking for non-execs, only non-execs. I help them with their search effectively. Then on the member side, I'm very much on the member engagement side, in that I help those members who are going for interviews. I provide an awful lot of interview support. Away from Women on Boards, I also sit on a sports board. I'm on the board of the Amateur FA. If any of you want to know anything about the sports world, then please contact me. I can give you warts and all. I'm also an independent panel member for the Ministry of Justice. That is me. What I'd like, hopefully, to talk to you about in a little while is some useful tips on how to get on your own journey.
Thank you, Rachel. Last but not least, I would love for all of you to be introduced to Toby Lewis, joining us from somewhere in the US very early in the morning. We should really celebrate the fact that he's coming with us. Toby is a pioneer in the advisory in the blockchain space. I had the pleasure of meeting him on the height of the whole ICO in 2017. And we have shared many a meal and laugh, not even an apartment at some point. But please tell us all about you.
Jean-Pierre correctly characterized it as an adventure. As part of that adventure, I guess I'm calling in from Mexico. I set up Novum Insights. We're a research business of blockchain and DeFi, building a SaaS product tracking signals and outliers in the blockchain and DeFi space. I guess because of that position of analysts and data scientists looking at the industry, we've always had a continuous stream of clients looking for consultancy and advisory work. That can vary from the smallest startup with two founders and a backpack and a laptop or two laptops to sort of large multinationals like Hitachi and Barclays and whatever. We're going to dive in the discussion to that advisory board playbook. That's the topic today. And I find it really interesting. It's very much how I first got exposed to the decentralized finance space. Was a project in early 2019, mid 2019, asked me to come on board as an advisor. I'd known the founder for a year or so. They were pretty interesting. They had a very informed young programmer involved. Then found the space was really, really interesting, and then ended up driving Novum much deeper into doing DeFi analytics and data. Having done that, I think it opens a lot of doors just looking into different projects.
Wonderful. Thank you, Toby. And I want to repeat what Bridget said from the beginning. We would love to get your question. This is not we're going to talk to you or at you. We want to talk with you. You have three ways. One is turning on your video and coming on and chat. Or the third one, I would think, would be through osmosis. I don't know if that's going to work very well unless we're trying to get into the metaverse for some reason. Amber has been in the space for a while, and coming from the finance world, she has a lot of experience of not only dealing with the boards and advisory in her former role, but also now in building her own companies. I would love for Amber to tell us a bit about how that playbook is all about.
Yes, of course. I think maybe first we need to start with differentiating the different boards, if you want, that you need in the different stage of your company. When you're quite an early stage startup, i.e. you still have not raised your Series A, the board members are usually the directors of the company, and usually they are the founders of the companies. Then you see some startups adding to what we call the advisory board, and that part is sometimes a little bit confusing, but could be interesting. When advisory board is, they are advisors. One thing to keep in mind if you're a startup is that they have absolutely no value for VCs. Usually you could have really good advisor that had 10 to 20 years experience in a certain field, and you would think that putting them on your pitch deck will, gain you some points, but most VCs don't actually look at that. The way you build your advisory board is something you need to be a little bit careful about in terms of what it is exactly that this advisor is going to be bringing to your company, keeping in mind that the advisor will be paid either in cash, either in a mix of cash and equity, and either in the decentralized space in tokens. I'm more than happy to talk about tariffs if someone has questions about this. But as founders, I would highly advise you to make it very clear what are the points that you require this advisor to achieve for him to get his salary. Because I've seen a few advisory contracts that were unfortunately not in the benefit of the startup. Then, of course, once you start growing and you're at your Series A and you start having VCs involved, your boards of director will basically change and will include the VCs. The way the VCs do that is usually they would want at least a 50-50 control of the company. Even if they have like 20% of the equity, you would need to take out some directorship from some of the founders and then add in the VCs. I've seen this happen quite frequently in the UK. As you keep growing, you would need a chairman, whether it is a non-executive chairman or an executive chairman. Well, it's something that we don't have at the moment, to be fully transparent, but it's a role that is very important in terms that he would need to be someone that is quite recognized in his field, someone who has quite a lot of experience and usually can really back up the CEO, especially when you're starting to scale up your business. His role will be somewhere between an advisor, a mentor, and a senior manager, especially if he is an executive chairman rather than a non-executive chairman. In terms of adding people to your boards of director, that's also something that is, in startups, it will mainly be driven by VCs, but you can take the step and start looking for directors that will complement your business. In our business, in the blockchain, crypto DeFi business, one advice I would give is either have someone that is very senior in finance, or someone that is very senior in legal, or someone that is very senior in regulations, because all of this is one of the pain points that we have in the industry and could give validation in some way, or at least comfort from your future investors. Keep in mind, these boards of directors are here to make sure that shareholders' value is protected and shareholders' value is created. One of VC sees that you have someone that was head of legal at UBS and you're in the DeFi space and he sits as a director on your board, that will give them a little bit more confidence in terms of how you're positioning yourself from a legal and regulatory perspective, and whether you have strong compliancy and strong regulation framework in place. I'm sure all of you are in the crypto space and you saw what happened to Binance last weekend, a few days ago, where basically the FCA announced that they cannot operate in the UK anymore. In terms of non-executive directors, these are also interesting roles in terms of, like, for me, they're more of a consultancy role. Even in bigger company, they are more of a connected and correlated opinion, an outside opinion on the management team and on the long-term strategy of the firm. In our space, especially when you're at a Series A, maybe Series B level, they come in more as consultants for the firm. At least this is where I see their values. You would pick a non-executive director on a very particular subject. You would tell him to work with you on this very particular subject. In terms of applying for non-executive director roles, I think Rachel will be able to speak about this better than me, but I must say that before launching the company, I was quite interested in applying for these roles, and I actually found it very difficult. Rachel can definitely tell us what it is that we did wrong.
That's absolutely wonderful. Thanks, Amber, for this. I didn't realize that you didn't have any of those roles at this time. For me, what I'm finding is, and maybe Rachel can tell us more about what has transcribed this in the last few months, because I am getting at least one or two a day coming into me and saying, have I got a job for you? Obviously, as a CEO of a company, I have to make sure that I'm not putting too much of my time against something which I won't be able to do, or something which is not of interest.